welcome to Toscana Mia. Today we are preparing a colomba. Colomba is a typical dish, is a dessert dish that we prepare for Easter time. So it has the shape of a dove. But of course it's a kind of dough that we can use also in other shapes. It's not compulsory to do the dove. The dove is typical at Easter in Italy, but it also a meaning of peace. So if you like, you can have this shape. Okay, you can do the shape you prefer. The dough is quite long to be done, so it's something that you have to organize in advance. And we are using flour, and that's what we call the zero kind. You will have all the explanation in the recipe. Then we use salt, sugar, milk, vanilla essence, water, eggs, butter, yeast, fresh yeast, and in this case we need fresh yeast because we are preparing what we call the biga, that is the beginning of the starting for a very regular dough. Then we have a lemon, orange, and then just to cover it for the decoration, very typical one can be done with the sugar, or as we are doing with colorful decoration with almond that have been chopped in small pieces, and the most important is the almond, the whole almond. That's the typical thing we get on a colomba. Now, to prepare the biga, that is the base for a rising dough, we have water, tepid water, and then the yeast, fresh yeast. We have, first of all, to dissolve it in the water completely. So we can use also a fork to help it to dissolve and mix in. You see, with the fork, you help it, and then you see when it's completely dissolved, because you don't see anything more. Okay, just going back, you get everything that is on the bowl. Okay, here we are. And now you have to mix the flour in it. It's a small part of the flour, the total flour that we are going to use. We mix it with a fork, but then, of course, we will need help with our hands. It's already absorbing the water with the yeast. Then every time there can be some difference because the water is absorbing less, more, so you have to consider to have availability to more flour than what is said at the beginning. And now we add a little bit of flour into the mixture, and then we get some on our hand to get the dough here. Then put flour for sure also on the board as we are working our dough. We need more flour into here, and then we get everything with the fork here. A little bit of mess at the beginning is quite natural. Don't worry about that, it may happen. Okay, here we are. And then, as it's still quite soft, we add a little bit of the flour. Okay, a little bit more flour. We need it because we have to get a total fixed mixture. The dough here. Okay, here it is. All of it. It's so soft. It's quite nice. You see, it's unifying everything. one very, very interesting thing is that now after we have been working it, okay, we have to use all of what we have. We have to let it rest in water. That's a fermentation thing. That's the yeast that is going to work into it. We need our flour, a little bit more flour we need. Sorry, you hear noises and you don't see, but not everything can be in the video, sorry. Okay, here we are. Okay, and this is our dough now.
You have to do a cross on top.
Now we do a cross or X, as you want to call it, just to help it to rise better. So now that is smooth, much smoother. It's a dough, what we call a panetto. That's funny because we use the same word panetto like pane, that is bread, because this is the dough that can be used also for some kind of bread. So we do just an X, a cross on top, that helps to rise, because it finds like the dough open is already, you see it's already rising now. And now the interesting thing of this is that we are going to put in a container here with water in it. I hope you see it well, and it's going to stay there. Of course, now it goes totally down, then after half an hour it will start floating, then it's ready for our use. We have to close to help the fermentation of it. Okay? When the bigger, so the flour and the yeast is resting in the water to get ready, we prepare the other ingredients. So now we have the rest of the flour, we add the sugar in it, then we add 5 egg yolks. When I separated the egg yolks, that's 5, I just kept 2 of the white on the side, and we will use them later on for the covering of it. So just the eggs and the sugar. Now we have butter, the butter that has been a little bit softened. Here it is, all of it. Okay. And we have to mix this one into. I'm taking all of it here. And mixing in here. Then we have to add the vanilla. Today we are using vanilla essence homemade. So you see from this container here. But whatever you have, and you need a spoon of it. Because this is wheat dessert thing, so we need a spoon to give more taste. So breaking a little bit more the butter in it. Then we add a pinch of salt, as usual in this kind of mixture, and the already grated orange and lemon zest to give a very, very good taste in it. So breaking a little bit more our butter. Now we have to add the milk. And we have to squeeze by hand in this way, trying to unify everything. Oh, you see, it seems hard, but it's not. It's just that it needs the hand to mix. The fork can be used at the beginning, but going on, it needs help with your hands to unify everything. Here it is. As you heard, we had the finishing of the 30 minutes of the bigger of the yeast. You heard the noise of the ring, so that's good because we are perfectly on time just to mix everything. Okay, this part here. Remember that for anything you need, if you have not understood something, because it's so hard to explain when the people are not in front here, please, absolutely no problem, write us and ask us information, because there can be something that is clearly evident for us, what is not for you, or if you are in doubt for something. So absolutely, please write us and ask for information. Okay. It's mixing everything. Some part of it is a little bit hard. Consider that there is no liquid now apart from the eggs and a little bit quantity of milk. So it may take a moment to mix everything, but it works out. Don't worry. Okay, here it is. Now, the second step here, we take our bigger out of the water. I want just to show you now it's floating in the water. At the beginning it was completely down into, now it's floating. That means that the yeast worked, and so it's floating and it's soft. You have to take it out. Try to leave the water there, and then now let's mix everything here. That's strange, eh? That's a strange thing. It's a funny dough here. You feel the squeeze, you hear the squeezing of everything. But it's mixing. The two doughs, you see how elastic the bigger is. So strange. Absolutely strange to see. But it's a wonderful thing. It means that it can rise better. Then a little bit of flour on the board again, because with the flour we can work the dough much better. So a good quantity of flour here, and we take our dough out. Now it may take 10 minutes, so I will go on working it for a while. Okay, you see how well it works? And everything is mixing now. A little bit of flour always available on the side. You absolutely need it when working on a dough, because you never know, your hands can be a little bit more hot, so everything becomes more humid. You never know, really. A reaction on the dough is something that you cannot say absolutely in a certain way. So you need the flour underneath. And you work your dough. Working the dough, you activate more and more the yeast. That's the important thing. That's the reason for kneading your dough. The moving ring for kneading, okay, there are different ways of thinking about the movement. You can do everything with one hand in this way, always squeezing a little bit like this. Or my preferred way is two hands, just to balance the body better. But that's very personal. The way you're used, you just push, stir, and then fold, and again. So let's say this again. We have our dough, we fold, and then we push. We fold, and then we push again. With the hands you prefer, with both hands, as you like. In this way, you see how smooth it's becoming, and everything is mixed into. The color is beautiful, it's given by the egg yolks and the lemon and orange. And I tell you sincerely, sorry that you cannot feel, but you see that when it's moving, it's the yeast that is rising, that is moving, so we expect that it will rise well, and it's smooth. This is so smooth, you see. It didn't seem to be like this at the very beginning. Then now we get a container, we fix in the container, and we let it rise for another hour. We can use the same container as before, doesn't matter if it's a little bit sticky, because anyway the dough will be a little bit sticky later on. We just cover with some flour, we put our dough in, then we do again a cross on top to help it to rise, and we leave it in a warm place. Usually when we have a dough, we suggest the oven, because in the oven there is no air draft coming in. So another hour for this one. After half an hour, this is what we get. Now we have to add some butter that has been softened, melted, but not completely melted. Always flour on the board, and then this is what we have got till now. We open it. It's really smooth and nice to work. Now the butter. We add the butter, but we have to knead this dough for 10 minutes, absolutely, because the kneading is always what is very good for our yeast. Then we will have to let it rise for 4 hours. It's absolutely a long preparation. More than for the work, it's just for the timing, for letting it sit and rise. So now again, we are working it, adding a little bit of flour to help. So always consider that the flour is calculated, is given for the dough, but then we need always some extra flour for working. Again, as before, folding, and kneading it. So after 10 minutes of kneading, it's really smooth and it's moving, means that the yeast is working. Now what we do is we fix it in a container, this time a larger container chosen. Okay, so just run as it is. Again into our bowl, and then again we do a cut here in the middle, so that we can do also just like this. So again it finds the dough open, and then in the oven again is the best place for 4 hours, so you have time to rest. Now after 4 hours, that's what we get. Isn't it great? Sincerely, a lot of satisfaction. Now we have to work it again. Oh, it's so fluffy. Then some flour here, of course. But you see, it works well, really. You can take it out of the container easily. No problem about this. Then we have to work it a little bit, adding the last part of the butter. Of course, not the butter doesn't go all together at the beginning, because it takes some time. It needs time to rise, and it has not to have too many ingredients. So the butter now is the last butter we are adding, is now here. Okay, here it is. And then we have to work it in. So we are kneading the dough for 15 minutes. Okay? We're working it. Always adding some flour. Now, after working for other 15 minutes, it's ready to go in its shape here. So we get it here, and we start fixing it so we can get its shape. It's very elastic, so it goes back to starting point every minute. After this, we will have to let it rise other 2-3 hours. Actually, just the 2-3 hours, because it depends a little bit on the total reaction. So the basic idea is after 2 hours you check and you see how it's going. It has to rise again up to the level here. Consider now we are working in the metal shape, then they're available also the containers, the paper containers for this one, or whatever shape you like to give to it. This is the traditional shape you see here for a dove. So with the wings here, the tail, the wings are here, okay, the tails and the head with the beak. So we try to join every spot here. It's so elastic that you see it goes back to starting point. It's fantastic, really. That's the yeast that's rising creates this effect. Okay, here again. Then after this, when it's ready, after the next rising, we will do the decoration and cook it. So it doesn't take very much work in itself, it's just the timing in between one rising and the other. Here it is. Now, after 2 hours and a half, this is our result. It has risen, so it's perfect. Now we have 2 egg whites, we add sugar, and we have to beat the 2 things together here, just to give the possibility to have a crust on top. Okay, so that's what we have to get now, and with a brush, we brush all of it on top. This will give the base for the crust, that is sugary, give brightness, and helps to keep the rest of the decoration. Decoration can be done as well, supposedly it has to be done always with the almonds, but then you can use sugar, granulated sugar, or other decoration as we are doing today. Inside, if you liked, you could have also candied fruit. I didn't use just because the family doesn't like, so that's a very personal thing. In some places they add chocolate or other ingredients, but really the best one is without anything. Now, okay, maybe the candied is the traditional one. Be sincere, that's what we have to do. Okay, so this is our glaze on top, just to be sure to have everywhere, because it's very nice, then it comes out to be crunchy, so we're very satisfied to have it. It's very humid. Now we are going to cook when it's totally decorated. We are going to cook it in the oven for 30 minutes. The first 10 minutes it will be 190 centigrade, that is like 380 Fahrenheit. Then we reduce the temperature to 180 centigrade, 360 Fahrenheit. So really, it took more time in the preparation, waiting for it to rise, than really definitely for the time of working or cooking it. Okay, so we have all of it here. And now we fix some of this grated almond on top, because it's something we like, here and there. Okay. It will be irregular, but nobody expected this precise and regular. Then, okay, just to give more color, that's why we like this one, because it gives more color. But that's always definitely a personal decision. Most of the time when you buy them, the dove, because dove is something, the Colomba is something that you can find in this season easily in shops, is decorated mainly by almonds and by sugar. Okay, and then our almonds here and there. There's a good quantity for sure, but they are nice because they're crunchy when it's finished. It's something that everybody looks for on top of the Colomba. here, 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 and some here. Okay, so maybe one is missing here, and then here. And now we are cooking it as it is. After 30 minutes of cooking, this is our colomba, and the colomba now has to become a little bit cool. Then we will move on the grate and leave it stay there, and we will serve it tomorrow. It has to spend some time here. Ciao!